Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and as always, I hope you are doing super duper fantastic. And it's like what a tangled web we weave, right? It's like there's so much complexity to this realm, to this reality, and just all that's going on within it, right? It's so hard to try to put it all together. And I suppose that's what I'm doing. It's what I'm at least attempting to do here, dear loved one, because there are so many different aspects to it. When we zoom all the way out, we look at it and we like, okay, that's a whole. It's pretty easy to see that it is an enclosed environment, right? I mean, if we want to look at it like the wide open universe model, and I'm not saying that the universe isn't there, it is. However, where we are currently appears to be sectioned off, cordoned off, right? Some people will even say that it has been quarantined. Okay. And that the Fermi's paradox, for example, is very interesting when we talk about this, because it's like, well, everybody says that the more we look at the universe and more we look out into space. Of course, I've got theories on that too. I mean, it's always the more you look, the more you find. It's like we always find what we're looking for. If you go looking for something, you're going to find it. You keep looking deeper into space, you find more of the same, more of what you expected to see. But anyway. So what I mean by Fermi's paradox is very interesting when it comes to this, is that they say that, well, the conditions of the universe are such that it should be teeming with life, that we should see life everywhere. But we don't. In fact, we haven't seen any hard evidence of it. So Fermi's paradox says, well, if it should be teeming with life, then where are all the aliens? Where are they? Where are the spaceships? Where are the fleets? Where are the armadas? All that. And we can also look at it another way, which, we have to be fair. So we can look at it as, well, if the universe is supposedly 14 billion years old, whatever, then, some civilization could have rose up, say, 5 billion years into it. And if they survived 1 billion years, that's a humongous, unfathomable number. But, I mean, we're spitballing, right? We're just speculating. So if they rose up 5 billion years into it, which would be 7 billion years ago, and then lived 1 billion years or whatever existed before they ascended to another, whatever, that's a whole other thing too. But after 1 billion years, for whatever reason, they were no longer in this, then there would be no trace of them at this point. Right? Because that would have been 6 billion years ago that they fell off. So it's like, yeah, the entire universe is, but it's varying age, is conducive to life. Sure. I'm not telling you, dear loved one, I'm giving you their analogies and things. So it's like, well, that's true. However, there's also, if it were to be teeming with life, then it would be at all times, right? See, some people, the whole thing with the thing, if they popped up 5 billion years into it and they survived 1 billion years, then that would mean that was their time, but this is now our time. But that can be turned into an analogy of cycles, right? That can be looked at as just, okay, well, that's true, but those are life cycles. Those are times when they existed, we didn't, and now they're gone, and now here we are. This is our cycle. Now, by our, I mean these physical avatars, dear loved one. But Anyway, getting back to what I was really talking about. It depends on how old you are, but December 21st, 2012 was supposed to be some big event, right? They supposedly the Mayan calendar ended on that date, December 21st, 2012. However, Jason Brashears of the Archaics channel, who I mention pretty frequently, he published a book in 2011, I believe it was, showing that was not going to be the case. And the reason why, very compelling, is because the Mayans observed a 360-day year. So if we say it's this many years, it's like, well, that's all fine and good, except to them, a year was 360 days. Now, we can get into why that was the case. Why was it 360, not 365 or whatever, 365.24? We can get into that, and there are reasons for that, but that's a whole other rabbit hole in itself. But just suffice it to say that to the Mayans, the year was 360 days. Now, it's only 5 days difference. Big deal. But when you're talking about thousands of years, it adds up. It adds up big. So to Jason Brashears, he's like, well, that 2012 is not accurate because of that 5-day discrepancy. So this end to the Mayan, what's called the Mayan long count, this end to that, I believe it's 2046. There's an event in 2040 and there's another in 2046 that he has predicted based on the history. And I believe that Mayan long count ends in 2046 though, or maybe 2040. It's not important. What is important though, it is important, but it's not for what I'm talking about. So also going on around about that, there was and this is you hear about this in conspiracy theory circles, the Looking Glass Project. Now the Looking Glass Project was, or they say it's defunct, it's been shut down, but it was for lack of a better term, like an ancient AI, some kind of system where they were able to input certain parameters or certain choices, and it would tell you based on probabilities what would be the longer term outcomes from that. So it's like if we plug in, well, what happens if we this versus what happens if we that? It'll say, well, you've got an 80% chance versus a 20% chance or whatever. So Looking Glass was a way for them to plug in ways and tell how things happen. Of course, that's based on various timelines. So we want to follow this timeline, not that timeline. So let's make this choice, not that choice. That's what the Looking Glass Project was for. However, as they approached that date in 2012, the choices became, or I guess the different timelines based on choices started to go away. And it got to the point at that date, December 21st, 2012, where if they plugged in choices, no matter what choice they plugged in, it always showed the same outcomes. And that's fascinating because it's like, well, even though, because this is where we have to use discernment, dear loved one, even though Jason Brashears says there's nothing to see here for 2012, and I believe that, he's got a very good point, it may have still been brought into our awareness because that was maybe not an ending date, but a beginning of the end date. If we are to believe the Looking Glass Project existed, because that is among conspiracy theories. But they said that it showed many timelines up until that point, but after which point, it didn't matter what choices they plugged in, it would come out the same. There was a man named Bill Wood, and I have a quote of his. He says, the timelines converge at that point. So in other words, up until 2012, different choices led us down different timelines. After 2012, it didn't matter what choice was made. It always it just one singular outcome. So that would look that kind of leads us into believe, well, there is something coming. And maybe Jason Breshears is right about the 2040, 2046. I mean, that part, whatever. But when I say that we're headed for a reset event, that would appear to be the event that we are talking about, where these timelines converge, and it would appear as though we can't stop what's coming on that timeline, no matter what choices we make. We can't stop that, no matter what we do. And when I say we, I mean humanity. I mean the human collective as a whole. So, I don't know what to say about the Breshears thing with the 2012. I mean, he had a very good point with the 360-day year thing with the Mayans. But I don't think that 2012 was brought into our awareness for nothing, I guess, is what I'm getting at. But the elites of this world, the elite ruling class, they know these things. As I've said many times, they know the true nature of this reality. They know the true nature of our world, this realm. And I believe that they know that if we awaken to our true nature, our true power, our true where we come from, who we really are, that we can then transcend and escape this realm at that reset point. This realm is what it is, and it always will be. It is here, it is set up for certain things, right? That's why we have predator versus prey. That's why we have just various ecosystems. Of course, that has been very different in the past. We do have much evidence of resets and of different, what's the word I'm looking for? Different environments in this realm in the past. We see that when we find cities buried. We say that when we find fossils of gigantic insects and animals and this and that aren't that deep, by the way, dear loved one. They're not that deep down in the earth. These are fossils that are right on the surface. But that's getting off the subject again. But it's like the elites, they know they're not leaving. As I've said, I believe their trade-off is, it's like, yeah, you can know the nature of this realm. You can understand how it works. However, and you can live this beautiful, lavish, luxurious lifestyle of influence and fortune and fame. But you're not going anywhere. You're part of it. You're part of this construct. That would be the elite ruling class. And they know this, and it scares the life out of them. That would explain why they're very frantically building all these underground bunkers, because they know when the reset event happens, they're not going anywhere. They're going to have to suffer whatever is happening at that time. So these underground bunkers are an attempt for them to just go underground and wait for the storm to pass. But they are also very frantically attempting to keep us, dear loved one, cycling through this realm, cycling through this matrix. If we become awakened to our true nature, we become awakened to our heritage, where we come from, why we're here, where we're going, then we will transcend and subsequently ascend, aka jack out of here, and go and move on to our true higher self. And I would assume move on to some other construct, some other experience. But I believe that we power this. Not trying to get dark like the Matrix movies where we are batteries, but I do, with the Bob Monroe theory of Luce and all of that, where that negative vibration, the negative low vibration energy that we produce when we're in those low vibrational states, I believe there is absolutely something to that. That would be the reason why it's so much low vibrational news and just everything is bombarding us in every way to keep people in that low vibrational state. However, good news is when we become aware of this and we become awakened to this fact, we can then transcend it and live the beautiful life that we came here to live despite them, despite their efforts. But we've got to look around and see. For example, transhumanism. There's a lot of effort right now being made to merge man and machine, to cause us to become less natural, to cause us to become, transhuman, where we merge technology with our very natural avatars. I believe that this is an attempt to keep us dumbed down, to keep us addicted to this realm, to keep us addicted to this matrix and all that it offers. And there is lots that it offers. In fact, I don't recommend that we reject everything of this realm. I mean, have fun with it. Laugh in its face. For the Gnostics, laugh in Yaldabaoth's face. All the little toys that are offered in this realm for us to get dumbed down by. It's like, yeah, I'm going to play with those toys. I'm going to drive that really nice car or that really whatever. I mean, so do whatever it is that's fun, but I'm not going to allow it to dumb me down to where I am more immersed in this physical realm. I'll have fun with it and then laugh in your face as I transcend and subsequently ascend. But I believe that transhumanism is an attempt to suppress awakening, to perpetuate this addiction to technology and subsequently dopamine. I mean, it keeps getting worse as far as that goes. Now we have short form videos, and I release short form videos, but I hope for that to have an opposite effect. But so many people can't even sit and watch a 20-minute video. They don't have the attention span for it. They've got to have that dopamine hit now. They can't wait. So, dear loved one, it's, as I started out, it's such a tangled web. There's so much to it. There's just so much to this whole thing. But what we do know is that we are eternal, divine sparks of the original, the head honcho creator. And while we are in this, it's like, yeah, you're going to have a tough time there, but you're going to get out. Everybody's going to get out. They're fighting like hell to keep that from happening, hold on to it as long as they possibly can. Because if all of us were to transcend and ascend out of here, the only thing that will be left would be the bad guys and nobody to serve them. So yeah, there's a big push to get humanity to stay here and keep cycling through. But yes, there does appear to be some reset event on the horizon. That's what the Looking Glass Project, I think, is another indicator of it. But anyway, dear loved ones, I just wanted to talk about this because there's so much to it. But I'm going to cut it on off here at the 20-minute mark. But if you have not yet subscribed to this here channel, please do so. I would really appreciate it. Also, if you have not liked this video yet, please do that as well. I would really appreciate it. And share this video. And also in the comment section, let me know what you think. What parts am I missing? I know there's things I'm missing. So anyway, yeah, that's what I got for you, dear loved ones. Besides that, as always, of course, I do love you. I really, truly do. And I will be back directly